Welcome everyone, I'm Ben Seiler. I work on IoT Security here at Microsoft, and with me is Arjmand, who is one of our lead engineers on IoT Security. Thanks for being here, Arjmand. So for many of our viewers, they understand a lot about general information security. They're thinking about IoT security, and they want to understand, like, what are the real risks that I'm opening my business up to when we start moving into IoT?
Yeah, so IoT security is, of course, important for the fact that we have to think end-to-end. We have to bring in the cloud, we have to bring in the devices, we have to bring in everything in between, connectivity and so on. Now, think about it. If we deploy IoT security and IoT applications like that, we are also opening up our enterprises to increased level of risks. Right? Now, these devices are sitting out there, which might be small devices. They're not as secure as the bigger servers that we are used to managing. So it is different from IT security in that way, that now we are dealing with these devices and this connectivity, which is all out there. Now, the risk there is, what if somebody could compromise one of those devices? What if somebody could compromise one of those networks or protocols? And now you have your whole enterprise subject to an attack, subject to breaches, and subject to bad things happening on your whole infrastructure. So that is why IoT security is different. The risks tend to be much more different and much more, I would say, important to think of, because bad things can really be bad. They could impact people's health as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so there's a lot of concepts going on. It's a lot for people to take in all at once. So how do we help people think about all these concepts? And looking at it, it's too big of a pie to eat all at once. So where should they start eating? Where should they start taking those bites?
Yeah, it is one complex. It is also involving so many different technologies, like the cloud, connectivity, protocols, devices, and different devices with different sets of operating systems and so on. So there's a lot here, right? So one way to think about it, how do you actually articulate the security state of your current IoT deployment? And the way for many years in cybersecurity people have been doing, as well as software engineering and so on, is to articulate the maturity of what you are doing, the maturity of software engineering, the maturity of cybersecurity. So we took the same concept and we applied it to the maturity of IoT security. Right? And we didn't do it alone. We started working with a host of partners around the industry who are also interested in this. We went to Industrial Internet Consortium. That's a consortium which does a lot of thinking about enterprise and industrial scenarios, and security is one of the things they do. So we went to them under that umbrella, working with many partners and from the industry. We got together and we said that we have to rethink this whole maturity model for IoT, because it is different from what we have been used to doing for IT.
Right.
So we came up with something called the Security Maturity Model. SMM for short. Security maturity model essentially allows you to evaluate the maturity of your IoT infrastructure, the security of your IoT infrastructure, and it gives you certain levels. So if you go into specifics, SMM, the security maturity model, allows you to evaluate where you are today, based on many things. For example, you can actually evaluate, how do I do governance of my secrets, as an example, my certificates, my passwords, and so on. How do I govern them? And what is the maturity of that governance? So it gives you a certain level for each of those things. So secrets is just one example, authorization, how do I onboard devices, how do I onboard networks, all of those, right? So it gives you a certain level. It also allows you or helps you to go to a higher level. It will evaluate, you can use it to evaluate yourself, or somebody can evaluate, and you can say, okay, right now for this specific component, I am on level 2. But I want to be on level 3 because I'm a healthcare facility. So I need to be on level 3. And there are 4 levels, 5 levels, 0 to 4. And you can actually use SMM to tell you what are the things you can do to go to the next level. Right? So it gives you a roadmap. And that roadmap can take you from where you are to where you want to go. And that's the whole point of doing this as a maturity model, because we understand security cannot be a binary. Security cannot be either I have it or don't have it. It's all about how maturely you are thinking about security.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. With all these new concepts, it's nice to understand where you are, understand where you need to be,
Right.
and what the path is between those 2 points. So tactically, when people are trying to use the security maturity model, what does that look like? What do they do?
Yeah, so it's a bunch of questionnaires. So first of all, you can actually do it yourself, or you could have experts out there, and these are security auditors or evaluators. We have a program where we bring them in, and these are third-party independent evaluators. We just tell them what maturity model is, right? So that they can come to your enterprise and they can do a good job there. But you can work with them or you can do it yourself. The document itself is out there. We'll provide you a link to that. And then what people do is they would take those questionnaires, run through those questionnaires, and at the end of that questionnaire, they will actually arrive to where their current level is. And then based on that, they can actually choose to go to the next level. So that's one. In addition to that, in order to help do these evaluations, we also have a set of case studies. Some are already out there, some we are working on. And these are very specific to verticals. For example, the retail vertical has its own nuances, its own way of doing things. Healthcare vertical similarly has its own nuances. So what we do is we do these case studies, we publish them, so that those are the templates which people can pick up and start applying to their vertical, right? And at the end of the day, it's either themselves or somebody else who's evaluating. We would recommend them to come back to that evaluation once they have changed things and do that regularly, whatever the cadence, and different organizations might choose their own cadence, but we would recommend those evaluations done over a period of time so that you know how your maturity is improving.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for what people who are interested in this should do as a next step. So what does Microsoft specifically do to help people as they're trying to get to a higher level of security along this path?
Yeah, so what we do is, in addition to telling you what is the level that you are right now and where you want to go, we also have a different sets of products, features, services that we offer, which you could use. So if you are thinking about going from a device which is at level 0 and you want to take it to level 4 for certain functionality, we can recommend you with Azure Sphere as an example, right? We can also recommend you with some services. For governance and compliance, you might require, or the analysis using SMM might require you to have more monitoring and management of your security stance. ASC for IoT provides you that. So there are products that we provide which allow you to actually look at your security and then look at your SMM evaluation and then come out. Another example that I can think of is you have a certain maturity, let's say you're level 2 with very basic ASC for IoT deployed there. But now when you take all this data from ASC for IoT and then you combine it with your enterprise security data and you do that analysis together in Azure Sentinel, you actually have a much more mature process there, which now allows you to bring all of this together. So that takes you from a level 2 to perhaps, and these are just hypothetical levels, we have to go through the whole evaluation, but it takes you to a higher level.
Sure.
So that is what we believe. We provide different services, we provide different products like Sphere and so on, which allow you to achieve those maturity levels using our products.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Arjman, for sharing that with us today. And thank you to all of you for tuning in to the Azure Security Experts video series. We have additional videos for more things that you can learn about IoT security. So thanks for tuning in today.